Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining me for another exciting Partner Spotlight webinar. It's right about that time, but I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to get logged in and make sure everything's working okay. And we'll get started in about 2 minutes. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here today with our partners and friends from AuthID for another Partner Spotlight webinar. And I appreciate you guys for taking the time and spending the next 30 minutes with us. As you guys all know, our solution as a whole cannot be a solution without partners like AuthID. And today with me, I have Jeremiah Maso, the Chief Product Officer. And then you also might hear from Francie Belfort today, who's the Sales Director. Jeremiah, thank you for joining me today. And if you want to take a moment, introduce yourself, and I'll hand it over to you to show all about AuthID today.
Sure thing. And first, I'd just like to thank you and the Typhoon team for having us here today. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Jeremiah Maso, and as mentioned, I'm the Chief Product Officer here at AuthID. Today, I'd like to talk to you a bit about what we do and what does it mean to turn the human vulnerability into security. So the first thing is, who's AuthID? What do we do? Our primary focus is the convergence of identity and authentication in a singular platform. We work across multiple different industries with vendors that are in the IAM, privileged access management, financial services space, and also financial services space. We've been around for over 10 years, and we're also publicly traded on the NASDAQ market. We leverage technologies such as identity verification and document checking, cloud-based biometrics, and FIDO2. And today I'd like to walk you through exactly how we combine these industry-leading technologies into a singular platform to deliver an experience that delights the customers and then also protects them from fraud that we're seeing today in the market. So first, I'll start off with data breaches. It's no surprise and it's no news to anyone, right, that data breaches are happening on a constant basis. Since the pandemic, we've seen a tremendous rise in data breaches. And just recently, we've seen data breaches, that happened with PayPal. We see from LastPass, Twilio. All these big companies are falling victims to it. And there's some interesting stats about these breaches. First one is 84% of financial institutions had an account takeover in 2021. That's a tremendous amount of account takeover. And if you look at that these account takeovers result in 2 to 8% of revenue being lost, and it can be easily been prevented. Also, we're seeing that in 6 months, within a 6-month span in 2022, there were 255 million phishing attempts, which is a 61% increase over 2021. So we're seeing that the attackers are getting more emboldened, and their main aim is to take advantage of the human vulnerability. And they do this in many different ways, through phishing attacks, take advantage of the vulnerability and the fact that we tend to reuse our passwords because now passwords are ridiculously long and we have to put them on many sites and we can't remember them. So what do? We just take our favorite password and use it everywhere. Once the website gets compromised, and now you can take that website along with the user's email off the dark web and then go and credential stuff that into every other website you can possibly find until you hit the jackpot as an attacker. And also, as an attacker, you don't have to be sophisticated anymore. You can just simply use some simple rootkits that you find online to go and attack users and circumvent a lot of the legacy MFA solutions that are out there today. Here at AuthID, as I mentioned before, we're the convergence of authentication and identity, and we offer a next generation MFA solution that's designed to combat and prevent a lot of the problems that you're seeing today with traditional MFA. Traditional MFA is, we look at it's high friction, low security. High friction in that, no one likes the password resets. No one likes when you have to create a password, you have to figure out, how many letters, how many special characters, numbers, and all this to put in there. And then also remembering it with the password and importing it in a password manager. So the something along with that something you have, which is a PIN code that can be sent to an email or to your phone number that's easily compromised, that's a thing of the past, and we need to move past that. And what we offer here at AuthID is low friction, high security authentication. And we leverage a lot of the new technologies that are available in the cybersecurity space, and we want to make that easily available to our customers so they protect their end users. Some of the technology we use, so for something you have, we leverage FIDO2. This is an emerging standard in device-based authentication that we all have available to us. So everywhere from your tablet to your phone to your desktop has a little tiny chip in it called the TPM, or Trusted Platform Module, that allows us to do strong cryptographic authentication using things that we already have today. Windows Hello, Touch ID, Face ID. That's already built into our devices. Why not leverage that as a way to authenticate versus a password? And then there's something you are, your biometric. We offer on a platform the ability to use two different types of biometrics. We can leverage device-based biometrics, and we also can leverage cloud-based biometrics, all at the aim of protecting the user and making their life easy. First and foremost, how to make the user experience faster and easier than what they use today. So what is the biometric chain of trust? How do we do this? So with us, we have a journey. Think about the user journey. Day one, you go to sign up for a bank account. What we do is we first offer identity verification as an optional capability within the platform. With identity verification, you can ask the user during sign up, hey, let's understand who you are to make sure we're protecting your identity. And all you have to do is using their cell phone, take a picture of the front and back of their license and take a selfie. And with that, within a matter of seconds, we can ascertain, is this a legitimate identity? We can compare that selfie to the image that's on the license and make sure that those two match and is not someone else's license that's being held or some fraudulent person presenting it. We can check the authenticity of that license. Are the different holograms and other security elements present on the license? Then we also could take that data on the license and send it back to third parties and do identity affirmation and help you comply with KYC and AML standards. That way you now can say that, hey, I've done all the proper checks to ensure this isn't a fraudulent identity before onboarding them. After that identity verification process, we then have what's called dynamic enrollment. So once the user has gone through the onboarding process and we sped that up for them, it's okay, now you have an account, let's protect that account. Let's protect the funds you're gonna put in that account. And with dynamic enrollment, we at time of sign up, we offer the user an option. Do you wanna protect the account with OTP or do you wanna protect the account with biometrics? And we provide user education. We show them, hey, here's what it means when you protect your account with a biometric, and here's what happens when you do it with an OTP. Which option do you want to choose? If they choose the biometric option, they then go down the path where they take that selfie they took at the beginning, then gets bound to their account, and that biometric is used to protect their account for anytime they want to add a device or anytime that they wanted to perform something maybe high risk, such as adding a beneficiary or transferring funds out of their account. We also enroll them in FIDO2. FIDO2 is a device-based authentication that they use on a day-to-day basis. So whenever they go to log into their account, whether it's from they're sitting on their couch with their cell phone or their laptop or their tablet, all you have to do is just put their finger on the touch ID sensor. They're logged in. No remembering a password, no getting up and going to get your phone and to do a push, no software installed, all browser-based, all leveraging the security that's built into the devices today. So fast, convenient sign up. And then with those two things, we then create the seamless user experience in which users are now protected from account takeovers, protected from phishing attempts, and all they have to do is simply use the technology they have in their hand. And as I mentioned before, that biometric is now there for them for a convenience factor, that if they forgot a device or they got a new device, instead of having to go through complicated recovery methods or maybe weak recovery methods like you see with a lot of solutions out there, all they have to do is take a selfie. And by taking that selfie, that allows them to then enroll a new device. A couple stats about the biometric. So first thing is what we do with the cloud-based biometric can never be lost or stolen. It only takes 2 seconds to capture that biometric. It's adaptive, meaning that we only bring up the biometric when necessary. So if you think about a user journey, and I'll show a video in a moment how this looks, user can log in with FIDO2, and then after they log in with FIDO2, perhaps they don't have to use a biometric going forward, but perhaps now they want to do something that's high risk, like the account transfer. Then we'll step up and ask for the biometric. And then outside of that, they don't have to use the biometric going again. And then also thinking about privacy, ethics, and diversity. How do we have a solution that works for all different groups of all different colors, all different backgrounds? And then how do we make sure that we are purveyors of privacy and ethics? These are all things that we ensure that when our biometrics is being used with our platform, that the user is fully protected and can feel safe and using that biometric, and that their data is not being shared or sold to a third party. So what I'll do right now is I'll go a bit deeper into the biometric and how we actually do our passwordless logon and biometric MFA with our platform. So here you'll see, and I'll see if I can pause it for a moment. The first thing the user is going to do is enter their username as they normally do, and then they're going to press the passwordless sign-in button. And when they press the passwordless sign-in button, they're then prompted to then log in with a passkey. Logging in with a passkey brings up a prompt on their device that's native to the device that says, "Hey, it's time to authenticate. Put your finger in the Touch ID or use Face ID or Windows Hello to authenticate." And that's a secure authentication between that user's device and our system, just giving us high assurance that it was only that one device that could possibly have done that authentication. So strong cryptographic assurance. But for the user, all they know was it was easy. All I had to do is just look at the screen. All I had to do is just put my fingerprint on the sensor, something I'm doing all day long for all my other apps. So it's just quick and simple for them, and it's not having to go into a password manager. So for the user, it says, "Oh, this was a simple login." After they log in, the user can then perform a high value transaction or high risk transaction. I mentioned account transfer. So here, the user is going to go and they're going to transfer funds out of their account to a friend, in this case, Mickey Mouse. So here, they accidentally hit the wrong button. So I'll bring that back again. So here, the user is going to do the transfer. And as they go to the transfer, the system steps up and says, "Hey, let's be sure it's really you that's doing this transfer." So they hit accept on the transaction. And from there, all they have to do is show their face to the camera. In 2 seconds, we do a capture. We send that capture to the cloud and we process it for two things. One, is this really that user, right? So does this face match the biometric template that's on the account for that user? And then two, is this a live representation of that user at this point in time? This is called liveness detection. So we make sure that it's not some attacker who found the user's picture on Facebook or Instagram and is trying to hold it in front of the screen. So we have multiple different layers of security that's happening in the background, but to the user, they have no idea. All they know is that they just looked at the camera, took a selfie, same way they do all day long when they're on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever it may be from social media. They did that same exact motion again, and then we take care of all the hard work for them to make sure that this is really them, that their account is being protected. So why use something like this? What's the value in using human factor authentication? Well, there's a couple things. One is strong identity assurance. So think about onboarding your users. You want to make sure that you aren't causing high friction for the users, but also that you're weeding out the fraudulent players. So with our system, It takes the user a few seconds to take a picture of the front and back of the license, take a selfie. And then from there, everything is completely automated, and we can tell in the back end, is this a synthetic identity or is this a legitimate identity? If it's a legitimate identity, we let them go through that sign up process and help prevent abandonment. Portable. People don't like friction. You don't like having to install apps on different devices in order to authenticate. So with our solution, it's all browser based. So if the user's on their desktop, their laptop, their tablet, their phone, they get a new device, whatever that situation may be, they don't have to worry about, oh, I didn't install the app here, now I can't authenticate, or I don't have my password manager, I forgot the password. It's just, oh, my device is my password. All I have to do is put my finger or show my face to the device, and I'm completely in and I'm authenticated. So quick and convenient. And then secure account recovery. Some of the things that happen when you look at strong authentication is, yes, you can make authentication as strong as you want, but make it too strong, then users don't want to use it. Uh, Also, if you make it strong, you have to think about, well, what are the other attack vectors that the system is susceptible to? So in this case, going passwordless using FIDO, there's other vendors out there who also offer FIDO, but one of the big flaws that you run into is that, okay, I've protected the front door, but I've left the back door and the side windows wide open. And now attacker, the typical method of attack is the attack will now go from attacking the authentication method, saying, okay, let me enforce a recovery and let that recovery fall back to one-time PIN codes, and then I'll just hack that. And with our system, the biometric protects the entire user journey, meaning that when I go to do a recovery of a lost device, I take a selfie instead of using a one-time PIN code. When I'm online interacting with the bank through chat, instead of logging in with a password or getting a push from a PIN code, I use a selfie. When I call up support, I use a selfie. So all those different attack vectors of social engineering that happen either with the user's account or through chat or through voice on the phone, we protect that user at all those different vectors and allow a selfie to be there as that final arbiter of, yes, this is in fact that user. So how does this compare to something like a CMFA? What are some of the key benefits? So I mentioned already the portable passwords authentication. This works across all devices. You don't have to install an app. This works in your browser. Phishing and minimum resistant. So super technical term, but essentially it means that all those tricks and attacks that are happening today from social engineering standpoint, they don't work with this technology. The technology can tell if it's a fake website that's trying to emulate the bank's website. It doesn't rely on a push that can be easily circumvented. It doesn't let the user get tricked into it. It has to be the user in front of that device doing the authentication, not a third party. It authenticates the humans, not just the devices. So a lot of solutions, if you go just FIDO and you get just the Touch ID, that's great for just logging in. But as the stakes get higher and you're doing more risky transactions, just having the device isn't sufficient enough. But you also don't want to create friction for the user. So that's why we authenticate the human using a selfie. So only at certain times when it's actually necessary will we pop up and say, hey, let's take a quick selfie. 2 seconds, one shot, done. And as I mentioned before, 98% success rate on that first try of the secure account recovery. Let's not just put a solution in place that protects the front door, but let's make sure that it's not vulnerable on the side and the back as well. Let's make sure you have a full comprehensive solution that's secure, but also extremely easy for your end users. And then finally, that shared credential and theft resistance. One of the things that are most frustrating for users nowadays is they use the password one place, that gets compromised, and now 30 other websites that they use that same password on are now all vulnerable, and you have to go and change that password. This eliminates that frustration. And they don't have to worry about, because my password over here is compromised, now my bank account has a chance of being compromised. So no, because my bank account is completely protected using FIDO too. And in closing, one thing I like to show is this slide, because a lot of customers, when we talk with them, they say, this sounds great, but how much does this cost? And the one thing I like to say is, well, how much does doing nothing cost? When it costs $400 to $700 to acquire a customer, but then now they're unhappy because they've forgotten passwords or resets, or now they're one of those 3 victims who've fallen victim to account takeover, or your business is now losing revenue due to account takeover. Either $2 to $8 million in costs that you're losing to account takeover. How much does that cost versus a solution that you could put in place that helps protect that revenue, but most importantly, improves the user experience for your users and helps onboard them faster and helps them log in faster and reduces frustrations like password resets or calling help desk, or streamlines when you call up when you call up to the call center for a question. It streamlines the whole process of verifying the identity. Those are the things to think about: is what's the opportunity here to make that user journey, that user experience much better. And with that, I'd love to open things up for any questions that the team may have. And also, we have Franzi online as well to help answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeremiah. That was great. A lot of great information there. I just want to remind everybody that you are on mute. So if you have any questions, please tap or write those in the chat window, and we will get to those as we can. We will address as many as we can in today's webinar. If we don't have time to address them all, we will definitely reach out to you with answers to those questions. And if after today's presentation you think, oh, I have this question, or you want to learn more about something, feel free to, if you're a Typhone customer, reach out to your Typhone account manager and we'll get you in touch with AuthID. Or if you're a current AuthID customer and you have questions about Typhone, let them know and they can get you in touch with us. Like I said, we do appreciate you all getting on today for today's call to learn more about one of our partners at AuthID. And why we're, like I said, I already have one question come in here, so I want to go ahead and read that out. Since my credit union has limited IT resources, how time-consuming is the integration, Jeremiah?
So that's a great question. So actually, the integration is already done. So the process of getting set up and get going is quite simple and pretty fast.
Sorry. And then let's see, one other question here. So sorry, I got some loud noises in the background, so I hope you can hear me okay. My banking app offers Face ID and Touch ID today. Why do I need FIDO too?
Yes. So a lot of times when you think about Touch ID and Face ID versus FIDO2, our FIDO2 technology is portable, so you don't have to install the application. It can work with users when there's situations where they don't have the app installed, and also work across a multitude of different devices and is also platform agnostic. So whether they're on Mac OS or if they're on Android or if they're on Windows, those authenticators can then work with them across that entire journey. Then also, when you think about it, what we can do is continue to layer the biometric on top to ensure that if that user they didn't have the app installed or they lost a device, they can just use their biometrics and then enroll another authenticator.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have time for one more question here. So here I have one more here listed. Do I need to have all of my customers enroll with IDs first to use the passwordless authentication product?
No, you don't. So a lot of our customers, what they'll do is for net new users as they're onboarding, they'll have some type of process where either they have all users use identity verification or only some that they see are high risk. And then for the existing users, it's actually quite easy where what they do is to say, hey, here's an enrollment button that they can click on to just enroll their account and pass this authentication. So very quick, seamless in the flip of a switch to switch over to passwordless without having to do any identity verification. Simply just take a selfie if they choose to enroll in the biometrics. If they choose not to, that's fine. That's one of the options. And then from there, they simply just turn on FIDO.
I love taking selfies. Jeremiah, thank you, and thank you. And tell everybody AuthID, thank you for joining us today, giving us time to present to our customers and other people that wanted to learn more about you today. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today and taking 30 minutes and spending it with us. We do appreciate the time you did, and we will have this video or this presentation on our website. So if you want to go back and review it for any information you might have missed, or like I said, if you want to learn more information, feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you in contact with the right person.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.